The Labrynth Loner deck in the Monster Type Festival is definitely going to make me eat my words because it's not as bad as I thought. We used this deck and went 7-0 in our first 7 matches. We have yet to take a loss, and what we're going to do is take a look at how some of those matches went and the interactions that you might run into with this deck. So we're starting off this first match pretty hot, going up against a master player. Going first though, so is it a wrap? I don't know. We're starting off by using Stovey Torby, pitching the backjack to look at the top 3 cards. They were rearranged. I don't remember what they were because this match was a day or 2 ago. But we just end on Big Welcome, Fair Welcome, and Welcome. So not too bad. The opponent starts off with Pot of Extravagance. We are going to chain backjack here. There's no real reason to unless it was a meaningful card, and I guess milling the Coup Clock into the graveyard so that I could get it back to hand is somewhat useful. The opponent starts off with a Feather Duster, so this is really bad. We're going to chain Big Welcome and then chain Welcome Labrynth so that Welcome resolves first, bringing the card to the field, and then Big Welcome will be able to bounce it. So what I do is I bring out the Ariane and the Ariana, and this will allow me to draw a card with the Ariane and resummon the Ariana to get the Ariana effect, because I wasn't going to be able to do that with the Ariana being bounced back to hand with a Big Welcome because it's still resolving in the chain. It doesn't get a chance to start a new chain to resolve Ariana, so I'm going to be able to do that here because the Ariane and the Ariana share the same effect where I can draw a card if a monster leaves the field due to like a trap card, and if I want I can set a card to the back row or special summon a fiend monster if I want here. So yeah, you can see there from your hand special summon 1 fiend monster or set 1 spell or trap. So that's how I played that out, playing around the Duster. I did lose my Fair Welcome Labrynth, but I've said in other videos that this card isn't very useful. That opinion has changed, and we'll go over that in a second. So we are going to be able to get the Stovey Torby back because of the Big Welcome, bouncing a card. And then on the Ariana, the opponent is going to Forbidden Droplet, pitching a Swords of Revealing Light. So this opponent is on a very weird stun kind of deck, it looks like, and or Stall Burn, which is kind of cool. It's kind of throwback to like, I mean, we didn't play Swords of Revealing Light even back then, but you know, burn decks played Lava Golem. The opponent does end up tributing over my 2, I guess, servants and leaving the Stovey Torby, and I think that's a misplay. So I would have definitely got rid of the Stovey Torby because now I'm going to be able to reset a Labrynth card, and this will give me follow-up during the opponent's turn here. Because we use furniture, we are also going to be able to get that Coup Clock back that we milled into the graveyard. So again, just thinking ahead, that's why we set up the top of the deck that way with the first backjack. And now at this point, I think the opponent kind of realized we have enough advantage that we were going to come back and just power through the game at this point. So one thing I've noticed in this event is that going second isn't actually that bad, but it's usually not that bad if you're able to build your own deck, because as you saw in that previous clip, things like Feather Duster and Evenly Matched are cards that can definitely be blowouts for you going second, because this event is a lot slower and there's not like a ton of Omni Negates and stuff that you're facing up against, so those kind of like board wipe cards do a lot of work. In this opening match, we start off pretty strong with the Welcome Labrynth, Compulse, and then 2 Labrynth monsters in the Silver Castle and Ariana. The opponent is going to battle phase. We wait for them to enter the battle phase to make sure they're not bluffing, and then we're going to have to resolve some effects. The reason I'm doing this before the Evenly Matched hits the board is because I want to actually resolve these effects so that my traps don't get banished, because if I resolve them in response to Evenly Matched, I still have to banish the traps. So what you're seeing me do here is put some cards on field that I don't mind losing. My field spell is a 1-of, but I have multiple copies of Ariana. Obviously, I have one in my hand, and I don't mind losing the Ariane. So what I'm going to do here is actually bring the Ariane to field with the Welcome, and then bounce back my Lady, which I can resummon again because traps are activated this turn and Labrynth cards were activated this turn during like main phase 2. But I don't mind losing these 2 cards, and what they're going to do for me right now is actually get me some utility, because I'm going to be able to draw 2 cards off of both of them. And this is why I brought out the Ariane off of the Welcome. And then if I wanted to, I could set or summon, but obviously I'm not going to do that if I'm expecting evenly matched. So sure enough, the opponent does evenly me, and then they're going to reveal that they're on the Unchained deck here. So we do draw a Chandelier and a Welcome Labrynth, which is actually pretty good. The opponent is going to be able to set up a Unchained combo here, going for the dog, and then just passing. So during the end phase, this is where Labrynth likes to play. We actually pitch the Welcome Labrynth off of the Chandelier to set a Big Welcome, and we still have Field Spell, which means we can pop a card. However, this is Unchained. They like getting their cards popped, so we have to be very, very careful of how we play here. So we draw Stovey Torby for turn. We're going to normal summon Ariane, and that's going to search out the Coup Clock so that we can activate a trap that we set this turn. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? You're not setting any traps. Well, not right now, but off of the Silver Castle, we definitely will be. So The chain's going to resolve. The opponent does reveal their face down card is the escape, which will pop my cards, preventing me from getting my pop off of the field spell. And that's fine, because we're still going to be able to bring out the lovely Labrynth off of Big Welcome, bring the Ariana back to hand, and reset our Welcome Labrynth. So this is a lot of utility, and we're going to get back Chandelier. While Labrynth may seem slow to start up, because obviously you're just setting cards to start, once you get everything rolling, this deck is extremely powerful. So you're going to see how this Chain Link resolves here. This Unchained Soul here will normally be able to discard and pop a card on the field, but because during the resolution of the Chain Link, Lovely is still resolving, I'm going to be able to pop a monster, which will pop this Unchained Soul before they get the chance to pop a card on my field, which will actually save me from getting my back row popped. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Now they just lose that utility. We're going to discard Coup Clock, activate Lovely, and reset a Compulse, activate Stovey Torby to reset Big Welcome from the deck, or not reset, but just set it. And we opt to bring Coup Clock back to field so that when we activate Big Welcome, we can bounce the Coup Clock to hand. We're going to Compulse the dog back because it's too big to beat over. And now we're going to be able to grab Stovey Torby back to the field as well. And we opt not to attack over the Unchained so that, you know, to prevent it from triggering here. The opponent's going to switch it to attack, summon the Samara, and we're going to instantly bounce the Samara here with the Compulse. You can see how Labrynth is able to play around Unchained, because Labrynth usually targets and pops, and for a deck like Unchained, they want their cards to get popped. So we're playing around that, preventing the link summoning of their monsters. That's why we compulsed on summon. And now we're going to trigger all the effects. The Lovely effect to pop cards in hand is actually kind of beneficial here, and that's what you're going to see. We're going to be able to get rid of the Samara that we bounced back, which it will not get its effect because it wasn't destroyed on field. Now the opponent's probably attempting to crash their Arua here, but we do have the Big Welcome that we haven't used this turn yet, so we're going to use that to bounce the other monster back to hand. And now the opponent has Dog and I think 2 Aruas in hand, so at this point we can definitely just OTK them, and they realize that and they end up scooping it up. Alright, this next matchup is super interesting in my opinion. We're going second, and again, using the loaner decks, you don't have the blowout cards like Duster or Evenly Matched. This opponent clearly on a custom deck, using the Pot of Extravagance to draw 2, then triggering off the Chandelier to set Welcome. So pretty strong opening, even with the Ariane grabbing Field Spell, and then activating Field Spell, and setting another card. So pretty strong opening for the opponent. Probably one of the best openings you can ask for with Labrynth in my opinion. Having the Ariane, the Field Spell, the Welcome Trap card, and one of your Furnitures in rotation already is pretty good. However, this is another benefit of Labrynth going second. The Furniture cards set cards on turn 0, air quotes. Silver activates on turn 0. So I get a pretty decent setup here going second, and I have cards that are live right away, right? So the opponent's going to chain their Welcome to my Welcome, and this is a little bit of a dangerous situation because of the Field Spell on field. It can pop cards. It can't target the Lovely, but I'm opting here to bring out 2 Fair Welcomes, and I know exactly what the opponent was doing here. This is a former or a diamond player, right? But they think that this is a dead card, and they're partly right. This card doesn't really do that much, so they don't want to pop it because they're like, this is just a dead card taking up your zone. So off of their Labrynth, they actually opt to pop my indestructible Silver Castle here. So after that all resolves, since I'm Chain Link 1, I resolve last, my Lovely can hit the field protected from the destruction effect of Labrynth, which is pretty good here. And I am going to bounce back my Silver Castle here. Now my Lovely is going to trigger. The opponent reveals their face down card in Ghastly Glitch, which will out my Lovely and trigger their Silver, unfortunately. But the Lovely effect will still resolve to reset that trap card. The opponent opts to set a Big Welcome here, and the Archfiend Ghastly Glitch gets rid of the Lovely. So we bring back the Stovey Torby, and the Lovely will pop the set card, the freshly set card that the opponent set in the Big Welcome. Now they have not used a Big Welcome yet in Grave, so we got 1 Welcome and 1 Big Welcome used. They've got their Silver on field, they still got Field Spell, and they dumped off of Ghastly Glitch the Stovey Torby, so they got both Furnitures in rotation. This is kind of dangerous for me, and there's not much else we can do at this time. So the opponent is now going to be able to trigger off a bunch of effects here. So the Labrynth is going to resummon a Fiend. They're opting to banish their Big Welcome to get the Ariane back to hand. They're going to get their Furnitures back. This is all because a card left the field because of a Labrynth card, right? And then off Ariana draw, they're resummoning it, and then in defense. So I guess the point of doing that was just switching it to defense, which they could have just done anyway, so I don't know why you did that. And then they bring out the Stovey Torby, and again, they have Chandelier in hand, right? So we're definitely a little bit behind. We finally hit main phase 1. We summon Ariana, and the opponent opts to once again set Big Welcome off of the Chandelier, pitching an evenly matched. And off our Ariana, we're grabbing Coup Clock here, which you might think is a little weird, but we are planning to use this Archfiend's Ghastly glitch, because what you're seeing us do here is actually use the Fair Welcome Labrynth. A lot of people don't know this. This card says when a monster declares an attack, it doesn't have to be your opponent's monster. So you can see me using my Ariana right now to crash into the Stovey Torby, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the Fair Welcome that I did not set this turn, the one that was set last turn, and I'm going to pop the opponent's back row, and then I can set a non-Labrynth normal trap, which I set the Compulse here from my deck. Now this is live because I used Coup Clock, so is this other Fair Welcome, and this is not once per turn, right? But we're not going to use the other Fair Welcome. What we're going to do is negate the attack off of the Fair Welcome and destroy the back row, and then we're going to set the Archfiend's Ghastly glitch from our hand, and then activate it because of the Coup Clock to trigger off or to destroy now the Silver Castle, which is now targetable because there's no longer a set card on the field. So Archfiend Ghastly glitch destroys Silver Castle, we dump the Backjack, and the opponent kind of realizes that they were a little outplayed there, and they end up scooping it up because at this point, with the Compulse, the Big Welcome in hand, and the second Fair Welcome, we're going to be able to generate enough advantage to kind of out-resource the opponent because their last cards remaining aren't going to generate enough advantage for them before we're able to out-resource them. And just like that, the opponent scoops, and we're able to go 7-0 with the Labrynth Loaner deck.